Hello everyone and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Luna had always been a quiet presence at Forrester, with clever yet subtle designs that reflected her own personality. She worked tirelessly, pouring her emotions into every sketch and fabric decision, striving to find her place in a world that felt too huge and cruel at times. Her pregnancy stood out as a light of purity in the midst of her life's disarray. She hadn't told Bill Spencer, the man whose intensity both intrigued and terrified her. Their relationship was difficult, with passion and unsaid expectations. Bill was a colossus, a guy who could command rooms with a glance, and Luna had no idea how he would respond to the news. Would he consider it a complication or a gift? She was not prepared to find out. Finn, on the other hand, had been her rock. Dr. John Finnegan, with his calm hands and gentle eyes, was the first to know. He had confirmed her pregnancy in a private moment at the hospital, his voice calm as he congratulated her. Finn's marriage to Steffy Forrester adds layers of complexity to their connection. Steffy was a force of nature, beautiful, determined, and fiercely protective of her family. Luna respected her, even envied her at times, but she could feel an undertone of tension whenever Steffy was present. Steffy's look had a sharpness to it that made Luna feel measured and found wanting. Luna spent the afternoon in the design studio, working on a new collection. The sketches were laid out in front of her, with brilliant lines and colors that represented hope and rejuvenation. She was deep in her work when Steffy burst in, her presence like a gust of wind. Luna looked up, surprised, as Steffy locked eyes with her. There was no warmth, only a chilly intensity that caused Luna's stomach to twist. "Luna, we need to talk," Steffy murmured, her voice cut off. She shut the door behind her, the click echoing throughout the quiet room. Luna set down her pencil as her heart began to rush. She had no idea what had set Steffy off, but the air felt charged, as if it was about to be struck by lightning. "Is there something wrong?" Luna asked, her voice steady. Steffy did not sit. She paced, her motions quick and agitated. "You think you can just go in here, into our family, our business, and take what does not belong to you?" Her comments were like daggers, each one landing precisely. Luna frowned, puzzled. "Steffy, I'm not sure what you're talking about. I'm just doing my job. What is your job?" Steffy cut her off as her voice rose. "Your job does not include cozying up to my husband, Luna. I've seen how you look at Finn and lean into him. You think I haven't noticed? Do you believe I am blind?" Luna's breath caught. She and Finn were close, but their relationship was never more than friendship. The accusation stung not only because it was false, but also because it revealed Steffy's low opinion of her. "Steffy, you are wrong. Finn and I are pals. That is all. I appreciate your marriage." Steffy laughed bitterly. "Respect? You are unaware of the word's meaning. You're an opportunist, Luna. You recognize an opportunity and seize it. But I'm not going to let you destroy my family." The remarks were increasing and becoming out of control. Luna stood with her hands trembling. "Steffy, please. You're misinterpreting everything. I'm not a threat to you or Finn." But Steffy didn't listen. She moved closer, her face inches from Luna's. "Stay away from him," she hissed. "Or, I swear, you'll regret it." Luna took a step back, her heels snagging on the edge of a chair. She tripped, and Steffy's hand came out, not to steady her, but as an impetuous shove. It wasn't hard, but it was sufficient. Luna's back met the edge of the table, sending a stinging agony through her abdomen. She moaned, holding her stomach, her vision fading as she collapsed to the floor. Steffy froze, her eyes wide open in disbelief. "Luna, I didn't mean..." Her voice trailed off as the realization of what had just transpired set in. Luna's face was pale, and her breathing was shallow. "Oh my God," Steffy said softly, backing away. "I didn't mean to..." Luna couldn't react. The pain was excruciating, a deep, twisting aching that seemed to drag her down. She reached for her phone, her fingers shaking as she dialed Finn's number. "Finn," she choked out as he responded. I need you. At Forrester. Finn came within minutes, holding his medical bag. He knelt alongside Luna, his face a mask of cool professionalism, but his eyes showed his dread. Luna, what has happened? He inquired, his hands moving fast to check her vital signs. Steffy, Luna whimpered, tears running down her cheeks. Finn's jaw tightened, but he didn't look at Steffy, who remained transfixed in the corner, her hands covering her lips. He concentrated on Luna, his voice steady. We need to take you to the hospital. Now. The ambulance trip was blurry. Luna clutched Finn's fingers, her mind racing with panic. She couldn't lose this child. Not now, not when it felt like the only thing holding her to hope. At the hospital, Finn stayed by her side, barking instructions to the caregivers as they wheeled her into the emergency room. Tests and ultrasounds were conducted. Luna studied Finn's face, hoping for reassurance, but his expression became more serious with each passing minute. Finally, he sat next to her, his hand gently covering hers. Luna, he whispered quietly, his voice breaking. I'm very sorry. The trauma resulted in a miscarriage. The baby is gone. The words hit her like a tidal wave, destroying the little hope she had been clutching onto. Luna's sob resonated through the antiseptic room, a sound of raw, unfiltered pain. Finn drew her into his arms, allowing her to cry on his chest, his own eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Bill Spencer came at the hospital an hour later, his presence imposing even amid the pandemonium of the emergency room. Finn had contacted him because he knew Luna would need him. Bill's face resembled a storm cloud as he walked into the room, his gaze fixed on Luna's tear-streaked face. What the hell happened? He demanded, his voice low but full of rage. Luna couldn't speak. Finn moved forward, his voice firm but husky. She was at Forrester. There was an altercation with Steffy. Bill clenched his hands and darkened his eyes as he said, Luna was pushed, and she lost the baby. Steffy, did you do this? His voice was a growl, barely contained. He glanced to Luna, his gaze softening for a moment as he felt her pain. Luna, I'm very sorry, he murmured, his voice raspy with emotion. He stretched for her hand, but she drew back, her anguish too deep to receive comfort. Bill, I didn't know, Luna said quietly. I was about to inform you. She hid her face in her hands after saying, I was pregnant and now. Bill's attention turned to Finn, his wrath redirected. Where is Steffy? He demanded. Where is she now? Finn paused. She was in Forrester when I left. Bill, she did not intend for this to happen. It was an accident. An accident? Bill roared, his voice reverberating throughout the room. Finn, she pushed her. She was the one who caused this. So you're protecting her? I'm not defending her, Finn stated, his voice stern. I am telling you what I witnessed. Steffy was upset and behaved recklessly, but she hadn't planned for this. Bill's gaze furrowed. You are her husband. Of course you would say that. But I am not going to let this slip. She hurt Luna. She took something from her, something from me. His voice broke, betraying the depth of his own anguish. Bill had no idea about the baby, but the loss was devastating, an unexpected wound. Luna listened to their conversation, and her heart broke all over again. She felt caught in the middle of a storm, her grief overshadowed by the two men's escalating conflict. Stop, she said softly, her voice scarcely audible. Please, just stop. Bill looked to her, his rage subsiding. Luna, I'll make this right. I promise you. Luna shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. You cannot make this right, Bill. No one can. The next few days were a haze of anguish and stillness. Luna retreated into herself, avoiding Forrester and everyone. Finn called every day, leaving voicemails that she couldn't bear to answer. He was divided between his commitment to his wife and his remorse over Luna's death. Steffy had vanished from the public spotlight, with whispers circulating that she was staying in the Forrester cabin, dealing with her own guilt. But Luna couldn't think about Steffy, couldn't accept the concept of forgiveness or responsibility. All she could sense was emptiness where her hope had once been. Bill, true to his personality, did not let things go. He confronted Steffy at the cabin, his rage consuming the little area. "You had no right," he whispered quietly and dangerously. "You took something from her, Steffy. Something you can't give back." Steffy's eyes were red, and her face was pale. "I didn't mean to," she said, her voice shaking. "I became angry, Bill. I believed she was attempting to take Finn away from me. I had no idea she was pregnant." "That does not explain it," Bill snapped. "You did not pause to think. You didn't care enough to ask. And now Luna is paying the price." Steffy's shoulders shook, but she refused to look away. "I acknowledge that I made a mistake. I know I can't solve it. But I'm not the villain you think I am." Bill laughed bitterly. "Do you think this is about you? This is about Luna. About what she is going through. You don't get to play the victim here." The confrontation did not provide Luna any peace. Bill informed her about it, and she felt nothing except tiredness. She did not desire retribution or apologies. She only wanted her kid back, and no one could give her that. Finn, meanwhile, struggled to keep his marriage together. Steffy was overcome with remorse, and he was torn between supporting her and mourning the loss of Luna's kid, a child to whom he had a strange, unspoken connection, even if it was not his. He went to see Luna one evening and found her in her modest apartment, surrounded by sketches she hadn't touched in weeks. "Luna," he whispered softly while sitting across from her. "I'm not sure what to say. I keep replaying that day, wondering what I could have done differently." Luna looked at him, her eyes hollow. "It is not your fault, Finn. You did not push me." "But I didn't stop it," he admitted, his voice thick with sorrow. "I should have seen how unhappy Steffy was." "I should have been there," Luna said, shaking her head. "You cannot protect everyone, Finn. You can't fix this." He reached for her hand, and this time, she didn't back away. "I'm here for you," he stated. "Whatever you need." Luna needed time, but it seemed to stretch out in front of her, each day a reminder of what she had lost. Bill, too, attempted to be there, his presence a consistent, steadfast force. But his rage at Steffy, his desire to act, to fight, simply exacerbated the chasm between them. Luna did not want a war. She wanted to grieve, to figure out how to live with the hole in her heart. Months passed, and Luna returned to Forrester, her designs gaining a new depth, a rawness that spoke to her sorrow. She avoided Steffy, who had returned to work, but remained distant. The office was a minefield of unspoken words and overly serious eyes. Finn remained a link between them, his kindness a comforting anchor for Luna, even though she knew it came at a cost to his marriage. Bill, ever the protector, refused to back down from his pursuit of justice, even when Luna begged him to. "I need to heal, Bill," she told him one night, her voice strong despite the tears in her eyes. "I can't do that if you're fighting a battle I don't want." Bill looked at her, his jaw tight, but nodded. "For you," he stated. "I will stop, but I'll never forgive her." Luna wasn't sure if she could forgive Steffy, either, but she tried. Not for Steffy's benefit, but her own. She needed to find a way to move forward and recapture the hope she had lost. She started designing anew, pouring her sadness into her work and creating hauntingly beautiful creations, with each stitch representing a step toward healing. Finn observed her progress from a distance, his heart heavy with the realization that he had contributed to her anguish, although indirectly. He and Steffy were dealing with their own issues, their marriage strained but not broken. Steffy's bravado was tempered with guilt-induced humility. Luna's trip was far from completed. The loss will always be with her, like a shadow in the peaceful moments. But she was learning to live with it and draw strength from her own grit. She had Finn's friendship, Bill's steadfast support, and her own unflappable spirit. And in the designs she created, she found a way to tell her story. A story of loss, yes, but also of survival, of a woman who refused to let her pain define her. Luna never imagined that a fit of wrath would affect her life forever. Steffy pushed Luna one day during an intense conversation because she was angry. The nudge was small and almost accidental, but Luna felt a sudden, intense ache and staggered, gripping her abdomen. She lurched backwards, her eyesight blurred. And in that moment, the life she carried inside slipped gone. She miscarried. The shock of it overcame her. Tears welled in her eyes as she sank to her knees, her body trembling. The nursery room she had originally put up now seems painfully cruel. That life, however frail it was, had departed. Luna wasn't even able to name the child in her heart. All she felt was emptiness. She stared up at Steffy, stunned, breathing heavily, anguish and wrath swirling within her. Bill heard Luna scream from down the corridor. He stormed into the room and found Luna fallen, sobbing, the crumpled pieces of what she had imagined would be a future slipping through her fingers. His face contorted with horror and wrath as he noticed Steffy standing across the room, her expression a mix of shock and remorse. Bill rushed to Luna's side, cradling her in his arms and demanding explanations in a vehement tone. Luna, half-conscious, muttered, "She pushed me. I lost him." Bill's face grew scarlet. He gazed at Steffy, his voice shaking with wrath. "How could you? How could you do this to her?" he accused, his words piercing and filled with anguish. He demanded Steffy explain herself and accept responsibility for her actions. Steffy's eyes filled with tears, and she appeared to shrink beneath the weight of her actions. "It wasn't my intention," she said. "I was upset, and I didn't know." Her words were hollow. The harm was irrevocable. Luna lay in bed for several days, pallid and frail, her emotions coiled with grief and wrath. Bill sat by her, holding her hand and pledging that he would not rest until justice was served. He swore that Luna would have someone fighting for her and that Steffy would face the consequences. Bill's rage drove him to demand answers and accountability. Finn observed them. Luna's miscarriage hit him hard because the child had been his own. The notion that Steffy's push had killed his unborn child was a terrible pain. Guilt and anguish consumed him, guilt for loving Steffy and grief for what he had lost. A profound emptiness settled into his chest. He alternated between encouraging Luna and soothing Steffy, tormented by the awful twist of fate. Bill's rage intensified, as did his determination. He approached Steffy and Finn, demanding that she publicly confess and admit her wrongdoing. He threatened to reveal the information to the whole world if she refused. Luna, meanwhile, alternated between tears and wrath. She wanted Steffy punished, but she also wanted vindication, acknowledgement, and closure. Every time she glanced at Bill, she saw an ally and protector. Finn, while battered, attempted to mediate peace, but the wound was too deep. Steffy found herself isolated. Friends and family turned away from her, siding with Luna, Bill, and their sadness. She tried to explain that the push was impulsive and prompted, that she did not intend for it to happen, and that she loved Finn and the child. However, no defense seemed sufficient. She could no longer claim innocence after the miscarriage. Finn's agony was quiet and intense. He clutched Steffy's hand at night, weeping quietly, feeling the phantom weight of the kid they would never have. But his devotion to Luna, his daughter, drew him in a different direction. He longed for reconciliation and healing, but the betrayal was too deep. Finn alternated between comforting Luna, who had lost everything, and caring for Steffy, the cause of the tragedy. His heart felt to be torn in two. In public, Bill arose like a storm. He conducted news conferences, condemned Steffy's actions, sought resignations from those who supported her, and portrayed himself as Luna's champion. He refused to remain silent. Every day, he paid Luna a visit, listened to her pain, and assured her that she wasn't alone. Luna, frail and worn, clung to him. He became her strength, her voice in the dark. Her anguish wrapped over them both. Steffy's world shrank. She was once proud and confident, but now she wandered in the shadows of humiliation. She avoided eye contact, hid in corners, and attempted to make amends behind the scenes, but nothing could erase the tragedy. Finn would sometimes hold her and murmur that he didn't believe she had meant it, but even he couldn't completely bridge the gap. Luna's anguish, Bill's hostility, and the public censure all focused on her. Luna would occasionally wake at night, trembling and reaching for emptiness. She would curl up in a ball of grief and whisper the name she had imagined for the baby, which was never spoken aloud. Bill would sit by the bed and touch her hair, swearing to bear her burden, fight for her dignity, and battle for the life she had lost. He reminded her repeatedly that she did not deserve this. Steffy must respond to it. Finn, too, wept secretly. He would occasionally visit the now-empty nursery and touch the cradle, imagining what could have been. He put his palm over his heart and felt a hollow aching. He battled to balance his feelings for Steffy with his responsibilities to Luna. He pitied them both. He wanted forgiveness, but he didn't know how to ask for it because the wound was too acute.